What is going on, guys? Welcome to today's video. In this one, I'm going to be showing you how to install a big bore kit on a 47cc engine. Let's get started. So before we install it, this is what you're going to get with the kit, if you go for the one that I got anyways. So you're going to get pretty much everything. It looks like this one comes with almost all the gaskets for the actual engine itself. We won't be using these because this engine is brand new, so that works out pretty nice. I'll get to save all these. But yeah, guys, you're going to get copper gaskets. This came with two. The listing only said I get one, but they gave me an extra one, which is cool. And you got the rings in here, the bearings, the pin, and yeah, they also gave me an extra ring in here too, which is pretty nice. You got your piston itself, the cylinder, and spark plug as well, which is nice. And they also said I get a NGK, but I got a YDF, which is fine, but I did message them about this because you should get what they say you get in the listing. But let's go ahead and start the install. To get started, you must remove the pull starter off of the engine. This gives us access to all the bolts on the cylinder. There's just 3 Allen screws holding the pull starter on the engine, and the top Allen screw is longer, so keep that in mind when you reassemble the pull starter at the end. You can just move that to the side, and now we're ready to remove the 4 screws that hold the cylinder onto the engine. Take a little bit of caution on the heat fins around the cylinder, but they should pretty much just come loose and unscrew. Just an FYI, I did break mine loose earlier, so that's why they're coming out so easily by hand. Now we can remove this cylinder. I don't like to just yank it off there. I like to turn over the engine to move the piston towards the engine, and that way I can just very gently slide it off right at the end when the piston is all the way into the engine basically. Then we can turn over the engine here, that way the piston is at full length again and we can have easy access for the next step. Then you're going to take your needle nose pliers and pull out the left clip so we can free up the pin. It's a slight pulling down movement while twisting to get it out of its groove. After just that one clip is out, you can go from the other side with a flat screwdriver and push the pin through. There's no need to take the other clip out from the other side. Once that pin goes through, the piston is just going to drop out, and be careful, your bearing's going to be right there, so we're going to be sliding that off right here now, and that frees up the rod. So now that we have the stock assembly off of the engine, let's go ahead and compare it to the big bore kit to see what the actual differences are between the kits. Of course, this is completely different looking. Performance over here, stock over here. That's an obvious difference. Spark plug location, just everything. So we'll go ahead and set these aside. And another difference is the bearings. Check out the bottom one is the stock one, and we got performance up top. You can just tell it's a lot more sleek looking and it looks nicer. So we're gonna go ahead and set those aside. Next is the actual rings. This is the stock ring. This is one of the performance rings, I guess, for the big bore kit. Obviously the diameter is different, but the actual thickness is different too. Performance ones are thicker, so that's good. And what else was I going to show you? Yeah, the actual diameter of the pistons itself, the most important thing. So our stock one right here should measure, yeah, 39, but it should be 40, but yeah, so that's going to tell you that you're working with a 47cc engine if you got a 40 millimeter cylinder, or sorry, piston. And let's measure the big bore kit piston here. Yeah, it should be 44. It's 43.9 on here, but this is a 44 millimeter if you round it up. And also another big difference, check out the window in the performance piston here. No window on this little guy, so that's good too. Now let's get into the rest of the install. And we're gonna start by installing the rings on the big bore kit piston. So you'll see these little notches on the big bore kit on your piston right here. This is where these are gonna go. So how we're gonna do this, it only should fit one way. You can see the teeth right there, they go like that. That means you're gonna obviously want that to go just like that, but there's a little bit of technique on this. I'll see if I can get it for you guys in one shot on the camera, but basically you want to start it off like that, and then we're gonna kind of twist it on to the piston itself. You don't want to open these up. You don't want to pull them apart to put it on. Definitely don't do that because you will break it. It did come with an extra one, so let's hope I don't break it here, but let's just start by sliding around. I'm basically just rotating it around while keeping it nice and tight against the piston itself. So let's go for it here. So you want to use some force. Don't be afraid to use some force, but let's get it out of the top there. We're almost through. Again, avoid pulling this out to fit it in there. You want to keep it tight against there. So I'd say the advice for that is to gently put your fingernail right there and kind of lift it out by pulling down on it and putting it into the bottom groove. Rather than trying to pull it like that, it's a little bit difficult to do. But yeah, you don't want to stretch these by any means, because yeah, they'll be stretched out and we definitely don't want that. So let's go ahead and do the top one, which should be a little bit easier. Alright, so I've got the start of it just like that, and I'm going to do the same thing. Pulling it around the edge here, keeping it nice and tight, and just like I figured, the top one was a lot easier to do, and that's how you're going to want to have it, guys, for the rings. Little notch right there for the top, little notch right there for the bottom. Simple as that. Just, again, keep them nice and tight on the piston, because you don't want to stretch them out. They'll either break or just be stretched out. And if you feel like you did stretch them out a little bit by installing them, just simply clamp them down like this, hold them tight just like that. You can do it both at the same time even if you want to, and just hold them like this for a little bit, and that'll tighten them back onto the piston pretty good, as best you need it anyways. Alright guys, so now we're ready to install the piston onto the rod, but check out the first issue with this kit. I've got the performance bearing right here, put it on the pin, but check out what happens. Look at all the play right here on the rod, inside the rod I should say. That is not going to work, folks. That's going to blow it up right away. That's way too loose in here. But then we go ahead and slide the performance one off, put the stock bearing on the high performance pin, good to go. So apparently we're going to be using the stock bearing on this setup. That's pretty weird, guys. I know there's no requirements saying that we have to change out the rod here for this kit, but yeah, that's different, guys. That's why I do these videos, to show you guys this kind of stuff. Let's go ahead and continue with the install. What still scares me on this though is check out how much wider the performance bearing is compared to the stock one. If we have the stock one in here, there's going to be more play going left and right. That scares me, guys. Let me know any info that you have down in the comment section. That'd be much appreciated. This step is very important. We must have this arrow showing on the piston towards the bottom of the engine. If you're looking at the piston with the arrow up, we want to put the clip in on the right side. To put a clip in, it's the same as taking it out. We're going to be pushing it in and twisting at the same time. You can see that movement right here, and I'll show you it on the opposite side as well. But now with that clip in, we can go ahead and line the piston up on the rod with the bearing in there, of course, and slide the pin through towards that clip that we just put in. Again, arrow towards the bottom of the engine, guys. Now you can see me here putting the clip in on the opposite side. Just a pulling down motion while twisting. It takes a little bit of getting used to, but you should be able to get it no problem. Nearly to the end of the install here, we're going to do a light oil through on everything with my dispenser here. So light that I'm just putting a little bit on my finger, and we're going to go ahead and first apply it on the inside of the cylinder. Just swishing my finger around, getting it on all the surface area where the piston is going to hit, and I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing on the piston itself and the rings, and we're just going to be doing a very, very light oil on everything. And of course we want to use the dispenser itself to get a little bit on the bearing here too. This will just help things get ready to go for that very first startup. Make sure everything's nice and free and everything's lubed up and just nice and silky smooth. After you get a very thin coat of oil on everything, we're ready to install the cylinder onto the piston. It's very important that we line up those notches that I've been talking about with the rings. We want these notches in between the ring gaps, and that goes for the top and the bottom. This is most important when you're gonna go ahead and slide the cylinder back on. This can take a little bit of jockeying to get the cylinder to slide over this piston, since the rings aren't necessarily fixed on there. So that's why I have it in fast motion here, but it just takes a little bit of jockeying back and forth. Just make sure that those rings stay between those pins, the ring gaps, because we don't want those over or on one side only. That's going to be no good, guys. You want this to be nice and squared up. Finally, we can flip the engine upright again and begin to install the top plate on the cylinder. Once you get all the Allen heads just a little bit snug, you want to go with a cross pattern for tightening it. Don't go ahead and tighten one all the way and then go to the right side, tighten that one all the way, then to the bottom left corner. You don't want to do that. Crisscross tighten. This pretty much goes for anything, honestly, but this is important to do something like that on a cylinder like this. So crisscross tighten, guys. It's pretty important. Now we can put the spark plug on. We just want to use a tiny bit of anti-seize on the threads of it, and you can go ahead and screw it in. It should be 5/8 if you go with this kit, but this is an easy step, guys. Don't over tighten it though. So that's it, guys. You made it through the install for the big bore kit on a 47cc engine. 49cc will pretty much be the same thing, but the kits are going to be different, so keep that in mind. But to be honest, not completely satisfying because that bearing. I'm a little nervous about it, but I'm sure you guys will give me the 101 on that, I guess. Yeah, it's a little bit weird. I didn't have a lot of choice in that situation. Just had to put the stock one in, I guess. But I do like the look of this thing, and looks are important to me. So that is a nice bonus for me, the gold top on there. But yeah, guys, what is next for the 47cc engine? Let me show you what we got on the toolbox. For on top of the toolbox, I've got the performance pipe I went with. Check out those Chinese cartoons, by the way. But this thing is looking pretty dang nice, so I'm going to show you guys how to install that. There's the hardware for it. Pretty easy, but yeah. Inside my drawer here, I've got the carbon fiber reed that I got, and the rocket key right here. Check out how small that is. And right here should be yeah, I did go ahead and pick up an electric start, guys, so I'm gonna be going for that for the first time. We'll see what happens with this. Should be pretty interesting. I had it out of the bubble wrap a little bit, and there's definitely some thinking to do there. But for this box, I've got the performance carb. I went with this one this time because I have used the other performance carb version with the big plastic bowl. It's a little bit wider than this one, and I had some problems with those back in the day, so I wanted to try out this one. Maybe you guys have info on this. Hopefully this is in fact a performance carb, but yeah, I did get this one, and yeah, performance air filter setup on it too, which, I mean, yeah, performance, I guess, but yeah, it did come with a stock carburetor too for some reason, a brand new stock carburetor, so that's pretty cool. I guess I'll take it. And this is the gas tank for the little engine run stand that I plan on doing. Hopefully everyone's still watching, because I do have a question for you guys right now. I want to get that engine run stand pretty much going ASAP so you guys can hear this run and we can break it in and everything. Plus I want to show you how to set up this engine run stand. But my question is it going to be bad for the engine to run it without a load on it? Meaning just the spindle, you know, going on its own, pretty much just free, widening it up, you know, full throttle pretty much. We're going to be doing some different tests. You know, we won't be doing that right off the bat, but is that going to be harmful to the engine? I don't know. For some reason I have it in my head that we could blow it up this way, just having it wind up like that with no load on it. But let me know your guys' thoughts. And then maybe there's someone out there that is techie enough and smart enough to figure out how could we do some kind of dyno setup to measure power. I know this is a stretch, but how cool would it be if we could do a miniature dyno with this little engine here, since I don't have a bike to actually do flybys on it like I normally would. But this is going to be something different for you guys. What do you want to see next for the install too? Because, you know, this is a user kind of series. You guys are making the calls on this. What do you guys want to see on the engine next? I'm going to be doing these installs kind of like this structure that you see now, and we're probably going to be doing little discussions afterwards for the shorter installs, but we'll just kind of see what happens with it and go with the flow. But I hope you guys enjoyed this one to start it off, the big bore kit. Everyone's been saying get that big bore kit right away, so that's what we did. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. See you next time. Peace.